the crisis at the southern border, and it has been a crisis of historic proportions over the last week. This is what we know. Well, many people, of course, are preparing for this holiday weekend. Border Patrol agents are still working to get thousands of migrants processed down there at the southern border. International railways into Eagle Pass, Texas, are open yet again since this afternoon. Remember, CBP had said that they were going to temporarily and indefinitely close them earlier this week. Let's go down now to the southern border there in Eagle Pass, Texas. Fox News multimedia reporter Bowen Kedrovich standing by with the latest. Bowen, good to see you. So you're down there at the southern border. You're seeing it up close, personal, firsthand. What are you seeing?
Hi, Andrew. Yes, well, I have seen some rail cars start to move down the railway from Mexico over to Eagle Pass, but they are still processing vehicles on one of the two international bridges here, and that is because the agents from the closed bridge have to come and help with the migrants. And now you can still see some of the migrants here behind me, but this is a very different scene, what we are seeing today compared to the last couple of days around this time. The crowd down here has really started to thin out, but experts warn that these closed entryways into Eagle Pass will cripple the city's economy.
Bridge crossings are important for this particular community because, and any border community, because it generates revenue, it generates toll revenue. The bridge locally is owned by the city of Eagle Pass, and bridge tolls are down.
Some drivers coming from Mexico to Eagle Pass can spend over 10 hours in traffic. Others are choosing to walk the bridge to save time. One grocery store owner tells me the majority of his customers come from Mexico. He says before the holidays, business was booming, and now the store feels empty.
I was born and raised here in Eagle Pass. I lived here all my life, and we have never seen anything like this. We have always had a tremendous amount of traffic in Eagle Pass and from Piedras Negras come into the downtown area, but now the downtown area looks like a ghost town.
Yesterday, CBP had nearly 11,000 migrant encounters. DPS tells me they expect it to be busier during the holidays. Andrew?
You know, Bowen, that's so interesting. I was speaking with some of these congressmen earlier this week there. Henry Cuellar, the Democrat from Texas, about these closures of these rail passages there. And he told me kind of what that local business owner told you, that this crisis is now impacting not only the general national economy, but local economies down there in Eagle Pass as well. It's a good thing that's now open, right?
Well, the international bridge number 1 is closed from Mexico over to Eagle Pass. There is one lane open on the international bridge 2, but those wait times are so long. The store owner, the grocery store owner, Benny Rodriguez, he tells me that these people are waiting so long in line that they don't want to come and shop at his store because of the wait time. So it's still an issue right now with these wait times and with the trade and commerce going from city to city there.
Yeah, Bowen, just lastly, presumably you might be there through the weekend. I'm not sure about that. If so, what are you looking for next?
What I'm looking for next, I want to get more in touch with the operations that DPS and CBP are having. What I heard from DPS is that they told me that the morale right now is low, that they are not feeling the support from the federal government at this moment. So I would really like to try and get more in tune of their operations this weekend is what I'll be looking for.
All right, Bowen Kedrovich there down for us live in Eagle Pass, Texas. Bowen, thanks so much. Good to see you.
You bet.
All right. In the meantime here, we do want to continue with some of our coverage of the southern border. I want to put up some of these tweets here that we've compiled for you. Take a look at this one from Alden Cabello. He's a citizen journalist with this video there. He says, Eagle Pass, Texas. The railway is now open, perhaps a sign that things are calming down after train and deportation operations kicked off yesterday. I have the statement in as well from CBP on those operational changes and resumption of rail operations. But first, there. Tony Gonzalez, who represents one of these border districts there in Congress, he's a Republican. He says this: today, cross-border rail operations in Eagle Pass and El Paso will resume. The closure of these two crossings had a detrimental economic impact that disrupted critical trade and commerce there. And so you can see many of these lawmakers who represent these areas are somewhat relieved this is now open. Even Henry Cuellar, the Democrat from Texas, who we spoke with earlier this week, he says this: beginning at 1 p.m. Central Time today, U.S. Customs and Border Protection there will resume rail operations at bridges in Eagle Pass and El Paso. This is a welcome development, and I'm pleased to see that international trade between the U.S. and Mexico will continue to flow. Thank you to my colleagues, Tony Gonzalez, Veronica Escobar, and all the railroad stakeholders for your advocacy to keep our trains moving. He goes on to say, we need to have order and control at our borders, and we need to prioritize the flow of legitimate trade and travel through our ports to keep our economies strong. He says that requires us to have a multi-layered strategy that includes ensuring that our frontline officers and agents have the resources they urgently need to respond to the humanitarian crisis we are witnessing at the border, that we take steps to unclog our backlogged immigration system, and that our partners in Mexico and Central America do their part to address the significant rise in irregular migration throughout the region. When you're talking as well about irregular migration, we just got the numbers in today from CBP for the month of November, and they are quite staggering. Griff Jenkins tweeting out kind of this graph showing the rise in illegal crossings throughout the course of the last several years, but also now these new numbers for the month of November, saying CBP releases November encounters on a Friday dump before Christmas, which is what we call news that comes out on a late Friday night, a Friday news dump. He says 242,418 encounters at the southern border. It's the highest November on record, and it's the third highest month ever. Griff goes on to say there were 17 individuals hit there with TSDS and the FBI's terror watch list, bringing the total for fiscal year 2024 to 30 individuals apprehended on the FBI's terror watch list there. So this is staggering. We also got new details as well from CBP saying since December 1st, there have been more than 214,000 migrant encounters at the southern border. Since the new fiscal year began, October the 1st, there have been more than 698,000 migrant encounters at the southern border. In the last 24 hours, there have been 11,000 migrant encounters at the southern border. So we'll just have to track and see once December is over, whether or not December surpasses the record month that November was, the third highest month ever recorded for illegal migrant encounters there at the southern border as well. So wanted to make sure we got all of that in. I know it's a lot of data there to process, but it still spells out how much the border crisis is impacting so many facets there of American life. Live Now look there at the White House as well. President Biden spoke on the phone earlier this week with the president of Mexico, Manuel Lopez Obrador there, about these issues. He also, President Biden, got a letter from Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, urging the president to take executive action to stem some of these illegal migrant flows happening down there at the southern border. Remember, it's not only happening in Texas, it's also happening here in Arizona. Bill Melugin, based there for the moment down in Lukeville, Arizona, in the Tucson, Arizona sector, saying Border Patrol's sector there reports apprehending 19,400 illegal immigrants in a single week. It's the highest weekly total ever recorded for the sector, which includes Lukeville. The weekly record has now been broken 3 weeks in a row. It's just one of 9 sectors. And so you remember the port of entry there in Lukeville, Arizona, remains closed. All right, I'm Andrew Kraft here, and you can just feel the sense. We've been showing you some of these live pictures there in Eagle Pass, also some of these videos there in Lukeville, where Bill Melugin is, of the solitary single-file line of some of these illegal migrants who are waiting to cross illegally, be transported, be processed. You sympathize with their plight, of course. Lawmakers still trying to figure out how to reform the immigration system. Will it be targeted and pinpointed, or will it be more comprehensive as well? Unfortunately, those negotiations, yes, they're still ongoing, but any action is going to get kicked into the new year. Live Now look there. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers have a very busy January ahead of them.